Raina Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creators like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. Hey guys, welcome to episode 8 of the Dreams and Drive No Parking Podcast, and I'm so excited for you to listen to today's guest, which is Megan Kothari, the owner and founder of Aria, a jewelry company for women. So one of the reasons why I wanted to bring Megan on today's show is because I think her road to entrepreneurship is very special. I actually know Megan from middle school and high school. We went to the same school, Dwight Englewood in Englewood, New Jersey, and although we didn't really stay in touch after high school, we kind of reconnected via Facebook, and I've been so intrigued and interested and inspired by the work that she's been doing with her company. So I asked her to come on the show and talk to you about it. So in a nutshell, you'll learn from Megan a little bit about her journey to entrepreneurship, how she went from FIT to ReAria to deciding that she wanted to step out on her own and start her own company. And the thing that I think you'll really love the most about Megan's interview is that she speaks a lot about fear and how stomping fear and getting rid of all that negative self-talk is so important, especially if you want to be a dream driver. So get ready, get your notepads out. You're going to want to take some notes. I hope you enjoy. Hey Megan, thanks so much for being a guest on today's episode of No Parking.
Hey Raina, thank you so much for having me.
It's so exciting to be talking to you. I feel like, we were just 7th graders in middle school. Now we're adults.
We're adults who have responsibilities now. Before we're just hanging out, didn't really care about much. And
I know.
Now we're full circle.
Isn't it so weird, though? I just think it's actually not even weird. I think it's so interesting to just see how people have blossomed over the years. Think about like all the people we knew from middle school, and now we're all doing such great things in our respective spheres.
Yeah, I think in high school and especially in middle school, there's such a pressure to be to conform. And I think once people get to college, they really, really, get into their own and blossom and become the best version of themselves. So I think it's really great to see that, especially with all my friends. Everyone's doing their own diverse thing. So it's really great to see.
Definitely. So today we're going to be talking all about how to kind of kick fear and go after your dreams. And I know you have a very interesting story of how you were kind of doing one thing and you said, you know what, I'm tired of doing this. I'm going to pursue my dreams. Yeah. So I really want to talk to you about what goes into that. But let's just start out with you, Megan. What inspired you as a child? So if you could go back to thinking, your early years, how do you think people would describe you?
Definitely growing up, I was very, very quiet, very meek. I was never really confident in who I was. I was in a really awkward stage where I had huge eyebrows, I had braces. I think I always wanted to be a certain type of girl, but I just wasn't. I mean, I'm Indian. I was one of the few Indian girls in our grade. There was such a desire to be popular and liked and wanted. And there were so many things about myself that I suppressed. I think that I've really changed. I mean, I think high school was a really pivotal time in my life, but I think growing up, I always wanted to be someone else and never myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad, I was able to find confidence in who I was, just going to high school and in college. So, yeah, I think it's really happy that happened. But, it was sad that, I tried to be someone I wasn't.
So when do you think that pivotal moment for you was when you really started to step into yourself? Do you have a story? Can you describe a time?
I wouldn't say there was one specific moment, but I think it was after middle school when, even the school that we both went to was very small. There was 50 people in a grade. So you were kind of stuck with who you had. I think when high school came around and so many people came into our high school, there was now a grade of 110. There were people that liked same things I liked, who understood my background. I mean, I'm a first generation American here. So there were so many things my dad would always say no to, and I never understood why. And then I finally found people similar backgrounds. And I think people accepted me for who I was. And I think that's when I really started to, grow into my own and, be a little more confident in myself.
And I know something that we talked about previously is the whole idea of expectations, especially coming from our parents. And being that we're both, both our parents are immigrated to this country, I think that it's different. It's a different culture when you
Yeah.
have parents who have such different expectations for you. How do you think those kind of shaped your life and the decisions that you made even up until today?
I think it really did make a huge impact on my life. My dad and my mom came here maybe 30 years ago with like no money. They came, my dad worked literally morning to night. Even when I was in middle school and my dad was always working. Even on vacations, my dad's always working. And for me, I just never understood the grind per se because they came from nothing and they came to this country and they've seen a lot of highs and lows. So my dad has always been fiscally very responsible. I mean, even though I went to a private school, even though I live in a good neighborhood, my dad has always only given me X amount of money to spend. He's always told me, don't turn into like the credit card generation. It's like you always have to watch your finances, live within your means. He would say no, and I'd be like, I want this, I want that. I mean, I'd see like, people in our school getting iPhones and iPads and, MacBook Airs and this and that. And my dad's like, I'm sorry, you don't need it. You're not getting it. And I never understood it. I think till I came to a point when I started earning money and I saw how hard it is to earn money and to have a savings. I mean, literally, I cannot believe my parents saved enough money to put me through private school and college. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think there's a lot of expectations since they really worked hard and they grinded it out. And when I complain about when I was working and I'd be like, oh, I only have 10 days off. He's like, at least you have vacation. Like, don't complain. Like, look at all the perks that you have. Like, look at you're getting paid so well. Such a great company. We never had that, when they came here. So I think that they think we take advantage of the situation. But I mean, they came here and, they really, really had to work hard. So
Yeah, and you just learn so much. I know on my side too, you just respect the hustle. You respect just how much it means, as you were saying, coming from nothing and seeing what can happen when you're determined to not let that stop you. So
yeah.
I definitely can relate to that. So let's talk about a little bit about your life post college. What school did you go to again?
So I actually initially went to BU because I always thought I was going to get a typical business degree, study finance, accounting, etc. But I think after my second year, I felt very overwhelmed in Boston. I felt like there wasn't much there for me. And I had always wanted to go to FIT, but my family was kind of against it because they're like, you need to have a practical degree. You need to go to business school, blah, blah, blah. And I tried it and I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. And it just wasn't my cup of tea. So I transferred to FIT after my sophomore year, and I studied international trade and fashion marketing. And I cannot tell you how happy I was at FIT. The classes I took, everything that I've learned, and the network I created there, I mean, I use it still to this day. So I'm really glad I made that decision.
So what were some of the things? So you said you studied international trade and marketing, and
Yep.
how did that? What did you do once you graduated? What was your
Yeah.
what was life like?
So, I mean, from day one, again, my parents were always like, you have to be a go-getter, don't sit at home, like get internships and side jobs and this and that. So from freshman year of college, I was working every summer and usually big companies. Like I worked at Juicy Couture Corporate, I worked at Christie's, etc. So I knew that when I graduated, I had to have a job. I had to have had a job. Like there was no way my parents would let me just sit around. So I really tried to hustle and find a good internship my junior year. So I got an internship at L'Oreal. And then after I graduated, they offered me a full-time position. So it was really seamless for me. Like I didn't have to do the whole interviewing process after college, which was really great. But I never thought I was going to go into beauty. That was never something I initially was interested in. It just kind of worked out really well for me. So I got fortunate in that way. I always thought I was going to be in jewelry because like my entire family's in jewelry. So yeah, that was really that was my life after college.
So I know eventually you did get into jewelry, but
Yeah.
what do you think were some of the biggest lessons that you learned while working at L'Oreal?
Definitely. I mean, I owe L'Oreal a lot. I mean, a lot of who I am actually is from working there. It is a crazy, crazy company. It's super fast paced. It's extremely global. I worked with so many different cultures and countries and people. I work with different time zones. There were times that the company really tested me and my skills, and we'll stay at the office till 3 a.m. That's not something I've ever done. But I think that kind of like learning, like those learnings really help me right now. So yeah, that's that was my life at L'Oreal. I worked on like so many big brands around L'Oreal, Maybelline, Essie. So I was really able to get a great perspective on, what the expectations are to build a brand. Like building a brand is not easy. And I saw that firsthand, even working on such a big company. So
you were working on the marketing side there?
Yep, I was working on like global marketing, and like we do product development. We do like our 3-year marketing strategies, and for each country. So I was definitely doing a lot at a very young age.
I remember when I used to work in New York, I used to get calls from their product department where you can come in and test stuff.
Our testing department.
Yeah, the L'Oreal building is nice, and I got to go into the employee store and get some stuff. Oh,
how amazing is that? I miss that store every single time. I really. Those are some of the best things at L'Oreal. The perks I have drawers still full of product, like drawers. I can't even tell you. So when I worked on Essie, we had a closet. Everything was like in alphabetical order of all the Essie shades, and there was like 50 of each shade. It was like heaven. It was so nice.
So although you learned a lot of stuff working at L'Oreal, can you tell me what was your tipping point? Like what made you realize that this was no longer what you wanted to do?
I think for me, it's not that I didn't want to work in beauty anymore. For me, it was like right now I have no responsibilities. I don't have a family. I don't have kids. I don't really have, mortgage. I have nothing to worry about. This is the best time for me to start something of my own, because I didn't want to look like, turn 35 and be like, oh, what if, like, what if I didn't start this? And I was always interested in jewelry. I mean, again, my dad's in jewelry, my brother's in jewelry, my uncles are in jewelry, but they're all in fine jewelry. And what I'm doing is really different. But I mean, I've been around the industry forever, so it was kind of just natural or organic for me to, get into it. So my tipping point was around like last December, January, when I went to India, and every time I saw something that I wanted to do, I just get this like buzz. Like it was kind of like this adrenaline rush. I'm like, I need to do it. Like I need to quit my job. Like I need to start this company. Like it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. So luckily, I had saved enough money at L'Oreal to like fully financially fund my company till date. So that is the one thing that I really like. I'm grateful that my dad had taught me early on how to save money, because I didn't want to have to work, another 5 years and then save up enough and then start this company. So I had that freedom, which was really nice.
So a lot of people who eventually become entrepreneurs, some of them always had this desire to be an entrepreneur, and some of them just kind of fell into it. Which one were you? Did you always want to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I've seen, again, my dad has his own company, my uncles, everyone in my family, everyone's an entrepreneur, and that kind of life is really exciting for me. So I think it was in my blood. But let's see, I just started my company, but yeah, I think it's always been something I wanted to do, and yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the company. So I want to make sure I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
How do you say it?
I want you to say it first, and then I'll tell you. Yeah.
I'm gonna try.
Don't think it. It's not that hard.
Aria?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, people ask me all the time, like, how do I pronounce it? I'm like, it's just like the name Aria. So yeah, that's.
Okay. Because there's 2 A's at the beginning, but
yeah, I tried to make it a little fancy.
And what does that mean?
So Aria goes back to the Sanskrit language. It's a dead language in India. It's like Latin basically, and it means rare, precious, kind of one of a kind. And when I heard this name, I was like, oh, this is a perfect name for my brand because it really represents my product.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about how you started launching it. What were some of the first steps that you had to take when you decided that, all right, I'm going to be launching Aria?
So after I left my job, I took at least 2 months off, just like took a break from life, where I sat at home, vegetated, went on vacation, really just had to decompress because I was just living such a stressed life, during my L'Oreal days and in college. So I took some time off to really figure out what I wanted to do before I started any research. I just, I'd walk around to stores, I'd go online. I went to India. I just hung out with family. And then when I got back in, I would say May, I really started researching. And I think the first thing I did was I just figured out what I liked and what brands I liked and where I kind of wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And then I went from there.
So what were some of your inspirational brands that you liked?
In the jewelry industry, I have 5 designers that I really aspire to, and I think they're doing a phenomenal job. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've heard of Dylan Lex.
No, but
She's really
I will hear of it.
Dude,
I'll look it up.
check them out. They're amazing. All these designers have such a unique like point of view, and they've done such a great job in the last 5 years to get where they are. So yeah, Dylan Lex, Danny Joe,
I've heard of
Jennifer
them.
Fisher, Paula Mendoza, and then another one I like is Monica Sordo. I can
Hmm.
say these names. They're all more contemporary, like accessible luxury brands. But I knew like immediately I wanted to be playing like, and I would want to be in the same space as those 5 brands. So, that's what I'm trying to build up to that point. Because again, it's taken them 3 to 5 years to get there. So it's baby steps for me.
So you started out with some market research, and then what
Yes.
were the next steps?
So yeah, market research, and then I attended a lot of different classes, all free like seminars in New York. Just I went to some about how to start a company, like just setting up the legal structure. Then I went to classes about how to write a business plan. Then I went to class. I just went to FIT has this really great program. It's called Tools of Trade.
Hmm.
Definitely check it out. It's taught by one of like my favorite professors. Her name is Melissa Hall, and they're basically all practical classes on people who want to start a company. It's kind of like how to do press releases and how to select a showroom and how to create line sheets. And this is more for the retail industry.
Hmm.
So these are things I had no idea. I had no idea like any of this kind of information. So I took a few of her classes. Then I started understanding things a little bit more, the cycles of fashion. And then I started writing my business plan. When I had enough of an idea of what I wanted to do, then I sat down and I wrote an entire business plan. And it took me like a good, I would say 3 months, but you're never like when you write a business plan, it's never something final. You're always tweaking it. And still to this day, I tweak it. But just figuring out what my goals would be year 3, year 5, who my target market was, et cetera. I think that's really important and your financial. Your financials are the most important because at the end of the day, you can have a great idea, but if it doesn't sell or if you don't have the, financial backing, it's very hard to, grow or be anything.
I like that you said that because a lot of our dream drivers, they have these ideas, but they really don't. A lot of them focus on just the idea and not the actual, how
Yeah.
is this going to get funded? What's going to happen if,
Yeah.
it's not really feasible? So what were some of the key metrics that you're tracking on your finances? Like, are there certain things that you should definitely, if you're a beginning entrepreneur, making sure that you're planning for?
Yeah, definitely. I think definitely having a budget is super important because you know how to allocate X amount of money month over month. I mean, you can having a budget for each, I guess, like your marketing, your packaging, all the different parts, your fixed costs, what are your variable costs. There's so many things that we underestimate. Like I never knew how expensive it was to make to like produce a photo shoot, or I never knew how expensive it was to make a website. So obviously doing your research beforehand is really great because then you can budget it in. If you don't do any research before, you kind of are like, oh shoot, I have whatever $2,000 left and I have to choose between making a website and taking beautiful pictures for a photo shoot for my lookbook. So it's really important to do research beforehand and then, plan accordingly. Be like, okay, this month I'm going to spend on this much and I expect to start getting sales in this month. And just having everything written down is great. I mean, you don't have to stick to it. You can always tweak it. It's just good as like, it's like having a planner, right? It's like, at least you know what to expect instead of something happening and you're, freaking out. So,
Hmm. So in this pre-launch phase, what were some of your biggest challenges? Did you hit any specific roadblocks?
for me, the two big problems I really had is all my jewelry is handmade. So it's completely handmade. So the most difficult part was, working with a good team in India, and it's just me. So there's only so much I can do. So I went to India twice, and I met with the different people that I wanted to work with, the factories, and just understanding them culturally and how we work is they're so different. And like for me, I will always want something like if I say Friday, I need it Friday, and for them, it's kind of like, oh, Friday means Wednesday, which means next Friday. So we have a holiday, and then we have a bank holiday, and I never understood that, and I get really frustrated. So it's understanding other cultures and people you're working with is really important. And then again, for me, it was like I didn't know what to measure to. Like I was like, is it like I didn't know like in terms of sales. Like I was like maybe I can hit 10 sales a month. Maybe I'll hit once. Like I didn't really know how many pieces I'd be selling because my product is pretty new to the market. It's not a jewelry piece that you see everywhere, so it's kind of a higher risk. You can't really benchmark yourself. which was really difficult for me. And then the third thing I think was, it's just like every day you're just like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Or what am I doing with my life? And I think it's just learning to stay calm and get through that. It was also really important. It was a little difficult initially. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? But I just kept thinking about the goal and why I left my job and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So
and I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with. It's like, even with this podcast, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like when will like I ever get the amount of, listeners that I want, or when will this ever happen? And that's kind of that's fair talking, and it's natural to have fear. But what are some things that you do to kind of combat that and to keep going and motivate yourself?
I think early on I realized that you don't need to be working 24 hours to be successful. Like I was like, oh my God, I need to be working in the weekends and no holidays, and should be my life. But I think you burn out really quickly if you start thinking like that. And that really makes you more anxious. So I start to have like a schedule, like I'll work 9 or 8 till 6. I'll take a break. I definitely like to work out because working out really calms me down. And it's like that 1 hour where I don't have to worry about like emails or doing work or anyone distracting me. So that's been really helpful when it comes to this whole fear aspect. It's just a way to calm you down. And then I always think about, what am I doing? Like, why did I start this in the first place? What do I love about what I do? I think about all the good times I've had with my brand and what's made me happy. And I think about when I was working a corporate job, when I was working 12-hour days, like, how unhappy I was at certain points, and the lifestyle I lived when I was working in the city and living in the city. And, that like calms me down a little bit. And then just talking to my mom. My mom's the best. She's always like, Megan, I'm proud of you. You're doing a good job. Like, keep going, keep going. These things take time. And I think when you start, the problem with me also was, I was like, wait, why is this brand doing so well right now? Like, what am I doing wrong? You should never compare yourself to anyone else. It's also, people create a perception. It's even like, think about all these social media bloggers, influencers. It's a perception they've created. Like, we don't know what they're doing. We don't know their struggle. We don't know, how happy or unhappy they are. We don't know how much money maybe they come from like a billionaire family, or maybe people have invested in them. Like, I think the best is be the best version of yourself. Like, make sure your company's healthy and the best version of itself. And I think that's what also helped me. Like, I don't try to compare myself to anyone. I just try to just see, am I happy? Is my company working? Okay, good.
So you kept repeating, one of the questions you have to keep asking yourself is, why are you doing this? So I'm going to ask you, why? Why are you doing this?
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. I ask myself that like every week. I'm like, what am I doing? I could easily go back to like a stable job with a stable pay, but I'm doing this is because I really have always wanted to do this, and this is a real passion of mine. And every day I really put my heart and soul into my work, and I don't mind working on the weekends, and I don't mind working at night. And I think when I see how happy I am by what I do, it keeps me going. I mean, yes, I could go back to a really like a good paying job, a stable life, but what happiness does that bring me? I just get to buy more stuff, or I get to have more of a lavish life. But in the long run, I mean, that doesn't make you happy. I think, doing something that you love to do, and, something that makes other people and inspiring others and empowering others. I mean, because I really want to make this more of a social cause, like a brand that really has a strong social center. So that has really kept me going.
So let's talk about, Aria launched. When did you guys launch? In January?
Officially in December.
Oh, okay. So you launched in December 2015. What was the response like once you launched?
It was really nice. I got a lot of great feedback from friends and family. People were reaching out to me. People were reaching out to me on Instagram. They're like, can we collaborate? Can we work together? So that was really nice. I think that was what pushed me. I was like, okay, you know what? Now it's launched. People actually like it, which is great. Now, how am I going to take this to the next level? Like, how am I going to take this from the stage that it is and really make it into a business? And I think that's where I am right now. And like, it's kind of like it's turning into a bit of a passion project. Like, I want to put a little bit more energy behind it and make it into a full-blown business. So those are my next steps right now. That's what I'm really working on, and coming up with a solid strategy, because so much has changed since I launched. I mean, I look at my business plan and a lot has changed and shifted, because when you actually start doing something, you realize, oh, wait, that's, I thought it was going to be like this, but it turned out to be like that. So yeah, that's what I'm at right now.
I like that you said that because sometimes a lot of people, especially new entrepreneurs, they don't recognize those shifts and they keep trying to do things the same way and they wonder why they get the same results. So it's good that you're realizing that there's certain things about the business model that, may perhaps morph and change for the better that can help you get that traction that you want.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you kind of have to be like water. You just have to keep adapting. And if you can't adapt, you'll never do well because things are moving so quickly nowadays. And if you're not on trend or if you don't know what's going on, you can really lag behind.
Mm-hmm. So let's say you had like a dream. Let's say you definitely have a vision for the company, but what does that look like? What's your dream Aria look like? Does it mean that you have stores all over the world, that you're pulling in X amount of revenue? Like, what's that look like?
For me, my dream is that this company can run self-sufficiently and that it's healthy. And I think for me, just having a healthy company is the most important part. And I really want to make Aria a lifestyle brand. I want people to, bring Aria home with them. I want to do like Aria houseware, Aria, bags and clothing, and really make this something bigger than it is. But promoting like artisans, everything I want to do is handmade because that is why I started this company. That is the core of who we are. So that is what I hope for this company in year 3, year 5. And I'm trying to build, trying to find what the next step would be to get to that point. But those are my goals for Aria.
And so since launching, Megan, what do you think has been the biggest lesson that you've learned about yourself along the way?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about that. I always found myself to be a little type A and highly organized and very controlling. And I think that as good as it might be, it's also a big flaw of mine because, things aren't always going to work out the way that you think they are. Or you have to learn to adjust like we were talking about. And I think I have changed a lot in the last year, even just the personality that I am. I've calmed down a lot more. I'm not so, obsessed about certain things. I just let things go in its natural course. And for me, it's like you're always learning. I think you never stop learning, and I'm learning a lot about myself just day by day, and how strong and confident I can be. And I constantly doubt myself. I'm like, oh, what if no one likes it, or what if this doesn't succeed? But once you start doubting yourself, you're going to doubt everything you've just done. So you have to be your biggest advocate, and as long as you're confident and passionate and strong, I think anything is achievable.
That's so true. I love that you said you have to be your biggest advocate. And that's something that a lot of people, it's something that you don't necessarily have to be. It's something that I think you can practice. You know what I mean? Like you can look in the mirror and say, hey, Megan, I'm Megan. I love me. This is going to work. And sometimes just tricking yourself, or not even tricking yourself.
It's just staying positive. I think honestly, if you stay positive, good things happen. The moment you start becoming negative and doubting yourself and being pessimistic, things won't work out for you, because everything that happens, you always think, oh, you know what, this is one more, it's just one more bad thing in my life. But you should always take the bad with the good, right? So, it's really important to just be confident in yourself. And, I believe in my vision and I believe in what I do. And, I think slowly people are believing what I'm doing, which I really appreciate. But I think you are your best advocate. So, yeah.
So I haven't asked anyone this question, but I don't know why it just came up. I want to ask you.
Yeah, of course.
Have you ever gotten any negative feedback about the company? How did you respond to it?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, I think number one, there's always haters.
Yes, haters are plenty.
There are plenty, and there are a lot of people who just kind of want to bring you down, and they just want to be, as they say, devil's advocate, but they just want to bring you down. And it's fine, because at the end of the day, not everyone's going to like what you do, and that's totally fine. For me, it's really interesting is, since my product is all tribal inspired and it's very much rooted in my Indian culture, I feel like a lot of, South Asians and Indians are wondering, why is it so expensive? And I can get this made in India for half the price and this and that, which is totally fine. If you want to go do that. I'm not going to stop you. So I just take it as, if that's what you want to do, if you don't agree with my vision, it's fine. Just keep it to yourself. I'm not interested in hearing about it. I don't let them get to me. I don't let them affect me. I just keep moving forward and keep doing what I love to do. So that's how I really deal with the negative feedback.
And is that your target market, or
No.
who's your target
Yeah,
market
yeah,
anyway?
yes, that's a good question. So, when I started this company, I was looking around and I was looking around and saying, okay, what's missing, what's not missing. And I love Indian jewelry, and I think Indian jewelry is beautiful and it's so well made and it lasts for years and years. But it's very hard for an American woman to wear Indian jewelry because either it looks like you're trying too hard and you're looking extremely like ethnic, or it just doesn't look, it doesn't seamlessly fit into your outfit. It kind of is, it stands out that you're wearing typical Indian jewelry, or it's a really hobo-y, like hippie kind of Coachella stuff that still looks very Indian. And I wanted to create a brand that, I take this Indian kind of style and I make it for the American woman. I make it really relatable. I make it wearable. I don't want them to feel uncomfortable wearing it, like, oh, is this marriage jewelry or is this religious, or, especially with, I don't know if you know, with the whole Beyonce music video, how the South Asian community wasn't very happy with it because she was appropriating it. So I wanted to make sure that whatever jewelry I create, people aren't scared of wearing it, and it fits seamlessly with their outfit. And it's made for more of an urban New York City, LA type of girl.
And at the same time, you can still teach people about the Indian culture through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I teach them the history and the heritage and, what goes into it. And, I'm really trying to keep this art alive in India. Like, I really want to promote handmade jewelry because there's more of a demand of this Western style jewelry that we have in America, So I feel like there's less and less artisans working on this kind of stuff, and I want to create a demand and awareness for it, which a lot of people are slowly doing. And I think people appreciate that it's handmade. It's gone through so many hands. It takes up to 2 or 3 days to make one piece, and each piece is a little different because someone else has made a specific person has made your piece. So
that's really cool. I'm actually on the website right now. My sister's name is Naima. I'm like,
really?
Maybe I should get her this Naima gold ring and then just take it from her.
Yeah, the names for all of these, all my pieces come from, women in my life that are really inspirational. So they do have an Indian name like Naima, and then Kajol and Rekha. So yeah, and you said you're Jamaican, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I tried to make it a little Indian with the name, but still totally want to make it wearable and for the American woman.
So let's talk about, throughout since you quit L'Oreal and have been launched Aria, you really have been an epitome of what a dream driver is. Somebody who's going for it, someone who's not stopping. Would you do anything differently? Looking back now at your journey thus far, is there anything you would change?
Anything I would change? I think what I would have changed is I wish I worked in a jewelry company that I aspired to be like, because then I would really know the ins and outs of the industry in terms of that kind of fashion contemporary jewelry, since my dad does fine jewelry. Because I think I'm learning a lot on the job, and there are a lot of mistakes I have made, which I think I wouldn't have if I had more of an understanding of certain things like supply chain and production and things of that nature. But I think that at that time when I quit my job and started this company, it was the best time for me to do it. So I would never, change anything. But if I just had more experience, I think I lacked a little bit of the jewelry experience.
Have you considered maybe doing this part-time and then trying to find a jewelry internship or externship, something like that?
Yeah, so I definitely thought about it. I mean, like a month or 2 months ago, I was like, what if I did this part-time, made it more of a passion project, and worked full-time somewhere where I could learn more about the industry and then apply it to my company and then take this again full-time. But I feel like I need my 100%. I need to give 100% to this company. Otherwise, it won't get to where it's going to be. It needs a lot more. It definitely needs a lot more funding, and it needs day-to-day and be like, really pushing for press and, working on these collections and designing. It takes a lot of time, and this is my baby, and this is what I'm passionate about, and I don't think I can be passionate doing something else. And I think that's a constant struggle with those who, have their 9 to 5 and then have their passion project at night. It's like, how can you still be passionate at work and want to be there every day when you know that your heart's not in it? And that's what I feel like. Because initially when I was working at L'Oreal, my dad's like, why don't you shut this on the side? And then, if it takes off, go full time. I was like, Dad, if I'm going to do it, I'm doing it 110%. Otherwise, I don't want to do it because,
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to do it. If you can do it, I mean, that is, if you have the funds, because it's still, very difficult.
I know in jewelry, there definitely are a lot of startup costs too that are associated with
Yes,
it.
yes, definitely. You're not providing a service. You actually have to pay for all the inventory. It's the traveling. I went to India, all your legal fees, your trademarking, your website, your domain names. There's like so many things that you pay for up front that you definitely need to be funded. Otherwise, it's very difficult because these are things that you need. Like, just photography is so expensive now. Getting a good photographer and paying for a model. So there's so many things that you can't really cut corners, and you need to pay for it. So that was definitely also something that I didn't really think I'd be spending so much money initially, but there's so many, again, like you were saying, so many startup costs.
Yeah, I know one of the big ones, especially because I work in logistics, is just the importing.
Oh my God, yeah.
And you have to pay like custom fees or something like that, right? Because it's
You
coming
pay
from
customs, duties.
Yeah.
Even just working with these factories, they need you to have a minimum amount. So you're holding a lot of inventory because they don't want to work with you if they're not making money off you, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're working with such big companies that they're like, what do you mean when I'm working with companies that are placing orders of 1,000 pieces a week or 2,000 pieces a month? So it's really and that's very difficult because, your cash gets tied up in those goods.
Mm-hmm.
Your money is, till you don't sell them, it's kind of all tied up. And as a startup, you kind of need to have cash readily available. So that was something it's very difficult. And I'm constantly finding ways, trying to do pop-up shops or, people want to see jewelry in person. So I'm trying to get the jewelry in front of them, and trying to make even my website very seamless, experience for them where it's, they can return it and free shipping. So, less of a risk.
Yeah, and I definitely like about your website, especially that your photos are larger too. Because some of the things on some jewelry websites, they might have very small icons of the photos, but I like that yours, or maybe it might just be my screen, but I love that they're big, so they look life size.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to be honest to your customers. Like the pictures that you see of my jewelry is literally how the ring's gonna look. So when they get it, they're not surprised, or they're not like, wait, it doesn't look like the pictures. Especially since my jewelry is all handmade, it's not going to be a perfect finish. It's going to have a raw look. And I try to explain that to people and try to, show it as honestly as I can through my website. And I think the most important thing is you always have to have good pictures. Pictures sell your company, sell your brand. So, and they evoke an emotion. Like if you look through my mood board or my lookbook pictures, they really evoke an emotion. They try to tell you who I am, what is our brand all about. So it's definitely really important to invest in these smaller things.
Mm-hmm. And I see that you've worked with some bloggers. How has doing that helped your brand?
I honestly love working with bloggers. They're so creative, they're so passionate. I mean, even them, a lot of them, this is their full-time job, so they're really invested in it. Sometimes they reach out to me, or if I like their style, I'll reach out to them, be like, hey, I'd love to send you some pieces and see how you'd style it, or, do you have any ideas? And they always come up with some amazing concepts, and they're really great to work with. So that's been really helpful. And I think that shows even just my following, this is who our girl would be. This is what she'd be wearing. And show them how to style the pieces, because I think that's a little bit of a learning curve since it still has such an Indian look to it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I tell the customer, this is, it's very translatable. Like you can wear this with your office clothes, or you can wear this when you go out at night for dinner. So I try my best to do that when I, work with these bloggers.
So Megan, what's the thing that you're most proud of about your company?
That I launched. I think that's literally that was the hardest thing. When I was initially working on it, I was like, am I ever going to launch? Is anything ever going to come of this? And I think I'm just proud that I was able to take an idea that I thought about in my apartment in New York and make something of it. Whether I succeed or not, I think that's just an accomplishment in itself. Not to pat my own back, but I think it's always nice to, again, being your own advocate. I was able to do it and I did it. Okay, so now that makes me more confident to take the next step. So I think that's what's been the best for me.
And for that person, for our dream drivers who are in that stage where they don't know, they're on the edge of the cliff, but they don't know if they should jump because they don't know if it's water, if there's rocks at the
Yeah.
bottom. What would you say to that person?
I would say if you are truly passionate and you love what you're going to be doing and you really want to do it, do it. However, I'll say one thing. It's not as glamorous as it looks. I think that the big issue is like, with this whole startup boom, it seems very glamorous and fun and like, oh, I work for my own company. It's a startup, blah, blah, blah. It is very difficult and you have to hustle and you have to work hard and you have to sacrifice a lot. Like I've sacrificed quite a bit from my life in New York to what I do now. Like I'm always working. I don't go out as much. I don't spend as much money. I don't shop as much because all of my money I put towards my company. So I would say do it, go for it. Do it if you're 100% passionate and love. But every day there's highs and lows and you have to know that. You can't quit and you can't give up very easily. You just have to keep going. So that's my biggest advice I'd give someone that wants to, start their own company.
Thank you, Megan. So now let's head over to the lightning round of our
Oh,
interview. So
Let's do it.
we do this section where I know I sent you over the questions in advance, but basically I'm going to give you a prompt and I just want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind when you hear these words, okay?
Yeah.
And it fits with our whole no parking theme. So it's the metaphor of the gear shift in your car.
I'm just going to be as natural. I don't know what I'm going to be saying, but let's just do it.
It's okay. So park.
Madison Square Park.
Reverse.
Reverse. Shoot, what do I think for that one? Your car reverses.
Neutral.
Color palette.
Drive.
It's just passion, I think, for me.
Okay, yeah. And then this part is always interesting because everyone says different things.
Reverse is kind of hard. It's like, wait, what do people say for reverse usually?
It depends. Like one time, this one woman told me she was like the beauty supply store. I was like, what?
I mean, I guess I don't really see. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think it just depends on what's the first thing that comes to mind. But my whole vision for this section is just, the whole no parking theme. I kind of got it from being in a car, no parking, you have your gear shift. So what is the whole steps if you're going from park to drive? But thank you for that. And it's fun, it doesn't have to be 100%. It doesn't have to make sense 100% of the time, but.
I feel like a lot of the times when I was interning for jobs, it always have questions like this, like random lightning rounds, and I'm like, should I be creative or should I just say what's on my mind? So yeah, it's really funny.
All right, and then the last part of our interview is our keys to success. So that's also going off the whole driving metaphor. So what are 3 essential things that you think all aspiring entrepreneurs or dream drivers need in their toolkit?
Okay, so 3 things definitely is, I would say business cards are the most important thing. I think it's literal. I mean, toolkit business cards, because you never know who you're going to bump into, especially living in a place like New York. You don't know who's sitting next to you. When you go out at night, when you go for dinners, when you're walking down the street, you're in the subways, you don't know who's going to be there. So always be prepared to hand your business cards out. I think that's helped me a great amount, even just networking events, always having something to show for myself. So that's the one thing. Invest in before you even have a website and just get a business card. Second thing is a notebook. I know that sounds so simple, but I carry my notebook around with me every day because I always think of things like, say, after my shower, while I'm in bed, or when I'm out, and I'll always write it down. Because you never know when you're going to need to refer back to it, or if you need ideas, you always have something written. And even for me, I have my own personal goals that I have for the year, so I like writing those down and looking at them like every other week and be like, okay, stay focused, Megan. Business goals are important, but personal goals are also very important. So that's my second thing. And the third thing is definitely have passion. You are not going to succeed if you don't believe in what you're selling or in yourself, because no one else will believe in it. So just having that kind of passion and confidence in yourself is super important. And I think any entrepreneur needs to have that.
All right, thank you. So you said business cards, notebook, and
Notebook and
passion.
passion and believing / believing in yourself.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that notebook. I literally carry a notebook. I have like a notebook in every one of my handbags. So even if I change handbags, I have like a little notebook. And there are things that, when you go to events and they always have like those freebie little
Yeah.
notepads, that's what I
Uh-huh.
use them for.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And they're so
Hmm.
small and you carry them around. And I mean, it's so great to, because I know everyone loves computers and like writing on their iPhone and this and that. But there's so many times where I lose my notepads or something happens to my iPhone or, it's lost. And I think it's so nice to just write it down and, use your hand for once. And like, I think people are no longer writing. So it's good to practice that.
Definitely. Well, Megan, thank you so much for being our guest today. I hope you
Thanks for
enjoyed.
having me, Raina. It's
And this
really nice.
this was so fun. I'm so happy that we were able to now, professionally, like 10 years later, or
Yeah,
even wait, no,
yeah, it's
what?
almost eight. We
No,
graduated
no, wait,
2009.
12, no, 2003 was when middle school started.
Oh, you're saying from when we, yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
when we first knew each other.
Isn't
So,
that
like,
so weird? And now you're like interviewing me on your podcast. That's kind of,
it is weird. It's just, and it's so
hopefully we
fun.
can do this in 5 years when you're super famous and Aria's super famous.
I'm like, Megan, come, darling, let's go to the Caribbean for the weekend.
Let's go on my private jet. Let me interview you. I'm like, sure.
All right, Megan. I'll
Yeah.
talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, Raina. All right, bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of No Parking. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as always, if you want to get today's show notes, you can go to dreamsanddrive.com. If you're listening on iTunes and SoundCloud, please, please, please rate, subscribe, review us. Let us know what you think so that we can improve each week and give you content that will help you become a dream driver. If you have any questions, you can check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Dreams and Drive. And know that we are here because we want to help people who are creative and lifestyle entrepreneurs build brands that shine and really understand what it takes for them to be successful and what's the best way. What better way than to hear from other people and hear their struggles and hear how they overcame it. We hope this episode inspired you to take a leap of faith and follow your passion and know that if you put in the work, that if you're determined to see your dream come true, it can. Once again, you guys, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you for episode 9. Get ready. This one should be fun.